try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Oh.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Fine.
Yet there was not a single person
Don't
here
get fired.
either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might find an answer coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really
That
be
painting was
all
in the other
alone?
office.
This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man
In
to
Taiwan.
take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, it had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, nearly impossible to guess blindly, ever. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
If we get the option, we're taking the door on the left.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word Escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his
This is
violent
the
death.
only other path I have not taken, if I remember right.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Bye-bye.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley
Narrator.
was obliterated
Narrating
as the
a
machine
narrator.
crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Neat.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
So this is the office. Oh. This is the door. It's important to get right. The corridor has been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the two doors in good time. The two doors. The set of open doors was the very first concrete piece of the Stanley Parable's design. Once the room was created, the rest of the game emerged as an extension of it, an exploration of the contradiction this room posed. Filing cabinets. Office computer. Credits. Okay. These are office. Button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of a keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. Neat. Let's go this way. Office block. Boss's office. Scenes from the development of the boss's office. Wow, he had a really shitty office at one point. The employee lounge. That was a nice lounge. Underground. An early version of the underground portion of the game. Narration outtake. Kevin Brighton, the voice of the narrator, recorded dialogue for the entire game roughly 3 separate times over the 2 years of development. These are clips from early takes that were not used in the final game. I really wanted to push the big red button, but I couldn't. It wouldn't allow me to. There was a big red button in the game. I tried to press it. I did. Freedom Engine. This was the very first incarnation of the Freedom Engine in the game's alpha. Wow, not nearly as pretty as the final cut. Monitor room elevator. For a time, the elevator in the monitor room could go up or down with freedom above the countdown and countdown below. We abandoned this when players found it too difficult to remember what was up and what was down, and placed the two endings together instead. Oh. Freedom ending. This is the freedom ending as existed in the beta. Better. Countdown room. An early version of the countdown room. Okay. This is game design mockup. This is the level that William, the level designer, sent Davey, the writer, as a kind of audition piece. The strength of this level got William hired to design the full game. Though much of the environment has changed, the basic layout from this mockup is still in the game. Neat. I hope y'all are enjoying the field trip like I am. These are the offices. Stanley's office. From left to right, the evolution of Stanley's office over time. The first was created in November 2011, the second in March 2012, and the third in February 2013. Wow. It's a pretty basic office. Ooh, better office. I like it. I like it. Good improvement. Moving on. Narrator's email. After the second trailer we asked people to email the narrator for questions. While we had initially planned to use these in further promotional material, we never found the perfect use for them. Here are a selection of those emails. Urgent, please respond. Please, I would like to keep this personal as a... Could you tell me what the significance of the number 1112800 is? I couldn't help you. Dear narrator, how do you stay in shape? Sincerely, Michael the Rock Martin. Is the narrator in shape? Oh no. Will the game feature capybaras? I feel like that's a good question. Game might have been better if it had featured capybaras. Am I Stanley? Are you spying on me? Something? Why? How? How is the game going? I hope it's as good or better than the first one. From a cool man. Well, the thing I want to know is, why would you do if Stanley entered any other rooms? For instance, on a scale of blank to Salvador, how surreal will this game be? Were you born with a magnificent voice, or did you bargain with a magician to receive it? Dead, strong, bad. How do you type with boxing gloves on? Ben. That's a good question, Ben. How do you make a JRPG? How do you make the worst game ever? What is the difference between a duck? What? Okay. Those were some interesting emails. Neat. The lounge. It's a nice lounge. The phone. The apartment time. In the previous version of the choice leading to the apartment ending, a timer will give you 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Not picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. Oh. Well, that definitely didn't happen. They changed that. The cargo lift wasn't always intended to offer the choice of staying on or jumping to a different path. However, after the early version, we decided we also wanted the option of the player falling to their death. Did that a couple times, actually. That was a good choice. The cargo lift. This is the second version of the functionally the same as what's in the final game, but we wanted to look more like a place where cargo is actually stored. Zending model. The Zending went through many iterations. This room represents the fourth version of the ending, and we thought it was complete, but decided to abandon and change it again shortly before launch. Zending. This screenshot depicts an early version of the ending known as Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with another part of the game. Oh, that was a big red button. I didn't get to push a big red button. Zending levers. These levers were originally a part of the Zending. The player would pull a lever and the narrator would describe what color lever he had pulled. The game is now paused. Begin the game again. Resume the game. Begin the game again. Options. Return to menu. Escape menu. We had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everyone. I think I would understand.